Alright, welcome back to the final tier list of this series. It will be a jungler tier list. We already gone through the flash lane, the ADC, the mage support, and they should be up on my YouTube channel right now. And we'll just start. So firstly we have agudo. Honestly, I don't really know what to say about this guy. I've barely seen him. I've seen him once, I think, or twice in my year of playing here. I haven't played this for 1 year. I played this for about 10 months and I've seen him twice, I think. So I can't really comment on him. And I'm not really when I was playing on the China server, I don't think he was released yet. Even on the China server, he might be one of those heroes that nobody uses, so I can't really comment on him. I don't even know his skill set. I think he got a rework or something, so right now I actually don't even know his skill set. Next will be ukyo. His early game is strong, his late game is pretty garbage. So he specializes in mid distance, so he's very good against somebody like Gun and Mo, because Gun and Mo is not scared of melee units, people that needs to go right next to him. But Gun and Mo is scared of, and Gun and Mo is also not scared of units that deal damage from it long range, because he can outrange them. But in the mid distance, right, there's like a weak spot for Gun and Mo. Let's say just follow my cursor here. Let's say this is the range at which Gun and Mo is able to reach the enemy. Between this range and this range, Gun and Mo is fairly safe. Gun and Mo is also safe to melee range. So between this range and this range, the middle range is where Gun and Mo cannot really deal with them, cause his short sword form is sort of has too much range to deal with this range over here. It is too far away from him to use his S1 to knock them back, but it's also too short a distance where his near sword can actually reach. So ukyo is perfect against somebody that are Gun and Mo. His early game's snowball potential is also good. He can usually I see ukyo invade the enemy jungle pretty aggressively at the start. You can definitely snowball this guy. I've seen a lot of ukyo that starts off with 7-0, but they still lost the game late game. Late game they start to rack up deaths and end their score with something like a 9-3 when they start out at 7-0, because his late game is just bad. I don't know why, but his damage scaling is just lower than other heroes, I suppose. Like in the late game, his AoV counterpart Ryoma is also known for his fairly bad late game. And Ryoma is actually a more powerful version of this guy, because Ryoma can use 2 dashes across the wall, while this guy can only use 1 dash. He only can flip over the wall once. So I would say overall he's not that good of a jungler, I would say. I've won against, I've not have that much ukyo on my own team, but I've ukyo on the enemy teams a couple of times and I won all of them. They start off all pretty strong, all with a pretty good score, but they end off pretty badly. So maybe a hero that you want to use in a trio queue or duo queue and push for game right in the right before the 15-minute mark, because after that your team fight potential, your damage start to fall off a cliff. Yeah, so I would say he's not that great. C tier for now. Until I can find a jungler that's worse than him, then maybe I can bump him out to B tier. Next will be augran. Now I think this guy is highly overrated. I would say he's B tier, and not even sure if I want to put him at the top of the B tier, because he's so predictable. His S1 allows him to traverse the map, jungle map. That's his advantage, and it's very easy to use. And his he usually build tank items, and he still can have a decent jungle clear speed. Certainly nothing to nothing to brag about, but it's decently fast. The thing is, his movement is just so predictable. He will always move along his S1, and he don't have any kind of dash or anything like that. I already explained his mechanic in the Clash Lane tier list. I think it's super predictable and super kiteable. As long as your support does not play like a very immobile tank unit, you should be able to deal with this guy fairly well. Now, what you should be afraid of is when your support allows augran to just build stacks around him, and just allow augran to stick to him, and just poke him. Then you should be worried. But if your support, I'm a support player by the way, and I only play range support, I've never found it difficult to deal with augran. Okay, I've always I played heroes with who are very mobile, who can cast their skills while moving, like Lady Zhen and Yuhuan, and I find zero difficulty in dealing with this guy. In fact, I find it easier to deal with him than a lot of other junglers out there, because he just moves so predictably. He has no dashes again. He will just pretty much walk up to you. That's all that he can do, or maybe follow the path of his S1. So because of his decent jungle clear, I cannot put him in C tier. He's, even with a tank build, he does decent amount of damage. So honestly, I cannot put him below this. He is very good against enemies that charge up to him and try to initiate onto him. He can counter attack melee units very easily. If an alien jump up to him, I think he can get rid of the alien in a 1v1 fairly easily. The problem is that if you don't engage onto him, which most high elo players wouldn't do, and you just like sort of ignore him, you let him charge up to you, and then you sort of kite him, it becomes super easy to deal with him because of his very low mobility. He's sort of like an Arthur, like enhanced Arthur in a way. So I would say it's pretty easy to deal with, and he is pretty mobile. I'll give him that. His S1 allows him to traverse the map again, and he has decent jungle clear speed, so he can take objective down fairly fast for a tank. But because of his super predictable movement, I can't put him in A tier, and I think he's overrated. A lot of people ban him. I don't think he deserves to be on the ban list. Okay, next will be Tuan. Oh man, this might be controversial. I think Tuan is behind Ukyo in C tier. Again, because of how predictable he is, his ultimate makes him a bit unpredictable because it's a long range dash. But all of his skills require him to be stuck in place for a few seconds, and it's super easy to dodge his skills. Once he misses his S1, he's pretty much a sitting duck. And even if he does land his S1, usually the enemy will already be out of range of his S1, and his second knockup wouldn't land. The good thing about him is fairly tanky thanks to his passive like short cooldown lifesteal. But the problem is about his kit is that it's neither here nor there, right? He doesn't have a huge shield. He has an okay shield but not a large shield, and he does not have any kind of damage reduction. He has decent healing, but his healing requires like him to hit the enemy multiple times. Each hit grant him HP back, right? So his healing, he maximizes his healing by building attack speed items, but yet he has no synergy with attack speed items. Yeah, and his S2 requires him to do 3 basic attack, which will deal true damage to the enemy. But without any attack speed items, he's going to be able to land maybe 1 auto attack, and the enemy will be out of range already, unless you have some kind of red buff or slow in his build. So his kit is overall very clunky and lacks synergy, and he is very immobile. Movement is fairly predictable if his ultimate is on cooldown. So for those reasons, also his jungle clear is fairly slow, okay, compared to all the jungles out there. So I think he's probably in the D tier or at the bottom C tier. I can't put him any higher than that because I need to find a jungler that is actually worse off than him. Okay, King of Lanling I think is King of Lanling is, I think I found a jungle that's weaker than him already. But King of Lanling I think is a bottom of A tier. I think his early game damage is a bit a bit crazy. His early game damage is a bit overtuned, I think. His late game damage is okay. He sacrifices a lot of survivability for damage, so in the late game, I think that's fair. But in the early game, his base damage is way too high. He can one-shot a mage at level 4. That's not fair at all. I'm yet to experience I've only met a reworked Lanling King once, so I'm not exactly sure if the new changes to him really nerfed him or make him stronger. I'm rating the Lanling before the recent patch, and I would say he's at the bottom of the A tier. Super good against immobile units without Purify, but if you build Purify or you go with a Tirenjie, then it's very hard for him to do anything, because all you have to do is Purify his stun, and then you can immediately counter attack onto him. It's also countered by Consort Yu. He's very good against like Lupan, marksman or mages with no dash or no CC skills. But I would say the recent support item changes also doesn't really benefit him. So I would say he's either a high A B tier or the lowest A tier. I'll put him in the lowest A tier for now, because his early game snowball potential is pretty high. Okay. Next will be Kaiser. This is the guy that I'm saying is weaker than this Tun. He might be the weakest jungler right now. I don't think he's in D tier yet, because he is still pretty tanky. But the thing about him is his movement is extremely predictable, much more predictable than this guy over here. Because at least this guy has his ultimate. This guy literally runs up to you and uses his S2 on you. That's it. He does not have any kind of dash. I guess his empowered auto attack from his S2 is a dash. It's super short range and it requires an enemy target to be nearby, so I wouldn't really consider that a true dash. Though his movement is extremely predictable. Only good thing about him is tanky. I don't think his jungle clear speed is very good either. At least not compared to all of these junglers now. So yeah, I think he needs some kind of mobility skills for him to be good. Right now, I've seen lesser and lesser Kaiser jungler. There used to still be Kaiser junglers around, albeit very little. But now I'm not seeing a Kaiser jungler in forever, man. In peak mode. I would say he's pretty much the most unreliable jungler at this moment. Athena is bottom A tier. I think this person is extremely underrated. She has the burst damage. People usually build tank items on her. I'm not sure if tank items is good. I like her better with crit items because of her damage potential. I find tank items on her to be somewhat lacking. There are stronger tanks out there which I'll talk about. But she has all her skills are short cooldown dashes pretty much. And she has a shield from her S1. And all of her skills are relatively short cooldown. In fact, her S1 can actually reduce the cooldown of her S2 by a few seconds. Oh wait, no. I don't think it reduces the cooldown, it resets her S2, I think. So yeah, she's able to spam multiple dashes in the kit. Also, S2, the AD scaling is plus 100. If you guys don't know, the crit is based off of a maximum of 100% AD damage. So if your additional AD damage is anything more than 100, the critted portion will only take the first 100% AD damage. Alright, so the fact that her S2 is scales by 100 AD is very good because all of it can actually crit. Yeah, she's able to land her combo fairly easily without any kind of mechanical skill, and her jungle clear speed is good because of ability of the S1 to reset the S2. Also because of shield, which does not lose any HP in killing jungle monsters. So I think she's actually a pretty strong pick. but I've not seen her much. And of all the players that have played her, right, all of them are really good with her, and I've played her to very good effect. So I will rate her at the bottom of A tier for now. Next will be Butterfly. Oh wait, this might be the... Oh, actually, he might... No, I don't think she's any weaker than these two guys. She's pretty much a low elo hero, I would say. A low elo stomper. Just because of a refresh mechanic, I have to put her at the top of C tier. If the enemy makes a single mistake, she's able to snowball. Yeah. Her movement, again, is extremely predictable. She doesn't have any kind of innate dashes. You cannot really consider her ultimate as a dash. And if she uses her ultimate, she's a hero that you need to go all in on. Usually want to use your ult only when you have full stacks, so they can refresh your ult again to do the juicy true damage. If you use your first ultimate on the enemy, and then the enemy use a dash to get away, you find yourself to be in a super awkward position. You can certainly outweigh on another minion to get away, but most of the time you'll find yourself deep within enemy territory. The thing about Butterfly is that without a jungle hero needs some kind of dash. Alright, like at least these two guys have some sort of dash. This guy doesn't have a dash, that's why he's here. This guy have dashes, but they all have their own specialty. Butterfly, I think I would say her only specialty is that she clears jungle extremely quickly. That's it, I would say. She's not really that tanky. Her ultimate does reduce the the damage of auto attacks on her by 50%. But she's major still does full damage to her. She is a snowball hero. If you don't snowball at the start, your late game is going to be pretty horrible. I would say her late game is pretty bad. It's very hard for her to jump onto the enemy backline. She doesn't have any kind of dash, and that doesn't help with her engaging onto the enemy backline. What else? Yeah, overall she doesn't have any standout besides being able to clear jungle monsters fast, and she's pretty squishy as well. And she doesn't have any kind of dash. Her movements are fairly predictable, so that's why I can't put her any higher than C tier. In fact, interesting thing to note is that AOV Butterflies actually has the lowest win rate, I think, as of now. So that just goes to show you that the butterfly mechanic is slightly outdated. Okay, this guy, I would say he's at the bottom of B tier. The problem with him is that he's way too squishy. Yeah, he's way too reliant on the attack speed item. If you build attack speed on him, right, then you are sacrificing defensive item and attack damage item on him. So that's the very awkward part about heroes that rely on attack speed. You are sacrificing attack damage and HP items or armor items for the attack speed items, just to get to a baseline level as the other skill-based warriors or assassins. That's why he is pretty bad without any kind of like items. His base damage is very low. He requires a lot of items to make him sort of effective. He ultimate has a pretty good disengage skill, but it's super weak to purify, because you can basically purify away his ultimate. What else? His ganking potential is pretty good. He can move over obstacle, which is great, just like augran. I would say overall it's just his over reliance on attack speed item. His jungle clear is okay. It's sort of a bit trash in the early game because he doesn't have any attack speed items, but in the late game, once he gets attack damage and attack speed item, he can clear jungle monster pretty fast. He's super reliant on lifesteal, so that's why you need Pierce you need lifesteal and you need attack speed item on him. And if you build all of those, right, you'll find that you don't have a slot for some kind of defensive item. So that's why he's a lot more squishy compared to all of these guys here. At least Butterfly, even though he goes full AP, right? Sorry, AD, right? She still have a shield from S1, and also she has one defensive item because she's not reliant on lifesteal or attack speed. But this guy is, so he has one or two less item slots to work with. So Butterfly can go for a defensive item while this guy pretty much can't. So but his ability to move over obstacle is his strong suit. So overall, right, I would say that he's at the bottom of the B tier, but not in the C tier. And yeah, pretty much, yeah, that's my opinion of him. Dianwei is I would say he's at the bottom of the B tier. In the past, I used to think he was D tier, but his recent rework makes him at the bottom of B tier. I would say even lower than Ying, this guy. His problem is that, oh wait, he has a dash now. His S1 allows him to cross the wall. In that case, I will put him over here. Again, all of his skills are way too clunky. He don't really have any kind of real dash. His S1 is sort of a dash that allows him to pass through wall, but it has such a short range. The range is more or less equals to a Cao Cao's S1, which is super short. His S2 requires himself to be right next to a person in order to use it, and that's very difficult to achieve in high elo. He against somebody like Gun and Mo, he can pretty much never be able to do anything against Gun and Mo. I guess he can purify the moment a Gun and Mo try to CC him, and then just charge at him. Overall, I think his skills are a bit too clunky, a bit too low mobility for him to be much used in high elo. I think he can be good against certain composition that is CC reliant, like Daji's S2 or Shaojun's S2. He can be good against those long stun skills, long and non-continuous stun skill. So he can be a good counter pick to certain heroes. But overall, he's not that great of a jungler because of his low mobility. His damage is okay. It's just that he's super immobile. Yeah. Next we'll have hanxin. Hanxin is either S tier or top of the A tier. I would say I've seen a lot of hanxin popping off now with crit build. In the past, it used to be defense build. I'm seeing less and less defense based hanxin, tank build hanxin, and more crit build hanxin. The thing about crit build hanxin is, if your support knows how to play, if your support knows how to camp in the blind spot, in his blind spot, like a Liang or something, and just out him whenever he show himself, CC him whenever he show himself, he will find it pretty tough to enter the fray. But usually all the hanxin that I've seen, right, they are able to sort of knock out the enemy from a blind spot very well. They are very familiar with the S2 S1 combo. They are able to judge the range extremely well. So in high elo, most of the hanxin I've seen are very stealthy, and they are able to maximize hanxin's high mobility to maximum effect. They are able to invade the enemy jungle quickly and get away. They are able to trade objectives quickly because of its extremely high mobility. They are able to split push and harass the enemy constantly by just by abusing his high mobility. So overall, I would say he doesn't have he doesn't have any damage reduction. He's very squishy, but he also deals very high damage. He's a high risk and high reward hero, but in high elo, I see a lot of players playing him well. So I would say overall, probably I can't put him any higher than, I think he needs to be mid A tier, not high A tier, mid A tier. Overall, he's mid A tier. By high low, I'll put him in high A tier. Yeah, so he's mid A tier at the moment. Yuhuan is, after the recent range heroes jungler nerf, right? She wasn't that great before. This because she is extremely good in teamfight. She probably is the jungler with the highest teamfight potential. But the thing is, people know how to play around that now. They know how to split push, and Yuhuan cannot deal with a split pusher. You need your clash lane to be a split pusher, or else you will just get split push in 2 different lanes, and you'll find it very difficult to push the waves out, because her mobility is extremely low. You pretty much need to follow your team and invade for the entire game. She's also a lane clear is fairly slow, so I don't think Yuhuan jungler is very strong now. She is still strong, but nowhere near before as strong as before. She's quite reliant on the jungler item passive as well. So the fact that jungler passive is nerfed really impacted her. So I would say she's right now, she's probably here, in the lower A tier, but still not gonna be in the B tier. Yeah, I think tank Yuhuan is a lot less viable now. I think you need to really go with AP so that you can have a decent wave clear. Jungle clear, because of the nerfs to a jungle item. Yeah. So I put him a low A tier for now. Low to mid A tier. Lam is without a doubt a S tier jungler. Lam is the hero that I ban very often because of his extremely high snowball potential. He's also surprisingly tanky. As long as you build 1 defense item or 1 or 2 defense item on him, the rest of it you can use AAD items, and he will still be able to tank a lot thanks to his regen. He has incredible sustain. He pretty much don't need to go back to base at all when his HP is low. You just need to find one jungle monster and it's pretty much back to half health. And he's extremely mobile, thanks to his very short S1 cooldown. The thing is, if you use your S2 while your S1 is active, your S2 cooldown is pretty low, so you can abuse that to sort of dash around. What can I say about him? His CC skill is also fairly good, able to position the enemy squishy into like a very bad position. His jungle speed is extremely good. Jungle clear is extremely good. His sustain is extremely good. He's able to take down objectives on his own. His rotating speed is quite fast because of his massive speed boost in the river. So overall, all of these factors make him an S tier hero. He doesn't have any counter. His only counter is that he's very squishy when he's not able to have any stacks on the enemy hero. If he does sort of get to the enemy hero and start doing his auto lock, empower auto attack, empower AA, then he's gonna be very tanky because of his constant heals. But if he's not able to really get in range, melee range, then he's still pretty squishy. If you have a Liang like CC him, or Lady Zhen, or any kind of AoE range CC skill on him, he's as squishy as any jungler out there because he does not have any kind of innate damage reduction. So I guess that's his only problem. But again, that's a problem that all junglers out there faces, all assassins junglers out there faces. So I wouldn't say that's a big issue. That's a big downside. That's why he's in the S tier. I don't think he has a particularly standout feature, but because of his very good performance in all these fields, jungle clear, tankiness, mobility, ability to gank, because of all of this, also when the enemy HP is low, right, he does bonus true damage to the enemy, and he gets a massive speed boost, which allows him to really clean up targets. Because of all of these factors that makes him in the S tier. He does not really have any standout area, but he does well in all of these areas that a jungler needs to be. Okay, next will be Jing. Jing is undoubtedly the king of the junglers right now. I've seen Jing that are absolutely crazy in pick mode. Her damage potential is off the charts. She pretty much has the highest damage burst damage of every jungler out there. Her 2A 1A 2A 3-1 2A combo 3-1 3-1 3-1A 2A combo is extremely strong. She's able to use 3 dashes with her ultimate. Her ultimate also refresh her S1. She can use 4 dashes in a row, so she can rush at you from the fountain pretty much. If you are in the high ground, she can reach you from her fountain. That's immediately that's how large her range is. Absolutely insane. If she uses all her 4 dashes at once, she can get to you from that amount of range. It's actually crazy. I've been instantly like deleted from a huge range, like 1 tower worth of distance away. I've been instantly just melted by a Jing from that far away. I didn't even manage to react in time, or cast any kind of skill before I could just get instantly wiped off. And I was like sort of a half tank build item, so her damage potential is absolutely crazy. She has very good sustain because of her S2, the healing from her S2. Her jungle's kill speed is very good because of her mirror image dealing the same amount of damage as her main body. And because Jing usually go high full AAD items, her jungle clear is one of the fastest in the game. Also her sort of mirror body can also mirror the punish spell, so you can sort of double punish the jungle monster, which makes her jungle clear extremely fast. She can pretty much use her ultimate alone to melt objective, either the dragon or the slayer. She's extremely mobile thanks, again, I've mentioned her 4 dashes already. Her ganking potential is insane because of her 4 dashes as well. What else? Her only downside is the same case as Lam, in that if she gets CC'd by a range skill, right, she's as squishy as any jungler out there, any assassins out there, because she doesn't have any innate kind of damage reduction. That's literally it. That's literally her only downside. Another downside is, I guess, she's extremely difficult to master. It's very easy to make a mistake with her. But if you do practice her, she is regarded by me and by all the pro players out there as the strongest jungler. Absolutely the top of the junglers right now, and probably for a while. So I cannot put her any lower than the top of the S tier and top of the junglers, king of the junglers. Yeah, because of all the things that I mentioned just now. She excels in all areas that Lam excels in. Lam not excel. He does decently well in all areas, but Jing excel in all of those areas, and that makes her a super strong jungler. Again, she's very, while she's doing her spinning thing, right, with her ultimate, like we call it the flying Raijin in Chinese, Fei Lei Shen, flying Raijin. If you watch Naruto, you don't know what that means. Because she can teleport within her ultimate, right? She can go, reflect herself using her ultimate. While she's doing her reflecting, right, she is actually very prone to Lady Zhen's ultimate, or any skills that travel in a straight line, that can have a huge range and travel in a straight line. So for example, Dia, her ultimate have a huge range forward, and it goes forward in a straight line. If Jing's ultimate is facing towards you, right, and you ultimate Jing, you will never be able to miss Jing, because it will travel in a straight line across the mirror. So you'll always be able to hit Jing with any kind of skill that travels in a straight line. Now, I don't know of any other skill. I can't think of any other skill that Lady Zhen's ultimate for now. But if there's other skills like that, then they work in the same way. So basically, Lady Zhen's ultimate travel in a straight line and only stop when they hit the target. So when Jing is doing her reflecting thing, right, as long as you position yourself sort of parallel to Jing's ultimate, or rather perpendicular to her Jing's ultimate, no matter where the Jing is reflecting, right, it will always, she'll always land inside your ultimate. She'll always like rush, collapse, not really collapse, like collide with your ultimate. Yes, that's the word, collide with your ultimate. So you can actually use that to your advantage to sort of CC Jing, have a very reliable CC on the Jing while she's in her ultimate. Also, Liang S1 works more or less in the same way. While Jing is doing her reflecting thing, you can actually put the mirrors sort of perpendicular to her ultimate. And then when Jing is doing the reflecting thing, like, she'll instantly collide into one of the mirror and get CC'd. So I would say AoE CC skills, like obstacle skills, like Lady Zhen's ultimate and Liang's S1, is a very good counter to Jing. Yeah. And by the way, when Jing is doing a reflecting thing, Liang can just immediately spam his S1 or his ultimate, and then be able to CC Jing fairly easily. In fact, all the auto lock ultimates out there works in the same way. Just like hanxin, just like any other jungle assassins out there, she is quite afraid of auto lock skills, like Dazi's S2, and also the Milady's ultimate. Auto lock skills, I would say, work well against her. Also, natural terrain sort of CC skills also work very well against her. But other than that, she doesn't really have any natural counter to her. Natural counter to her, like Liang, is also natural counter to all the assassins out there, so it's not fair to judge her for that. So I would say she's definitely the strongest jungler out there. Next will be Libai. I've seen Libai that can play Libai very well. I would say he's at the bottom of the A tier. Why he's not higher is his early game cooldown is extremely long. She's extremely reliant on the blue buff. In the late games, he's actually a monster to deal with, because his cooldown is fairly short. All his S2 and ultimate all makes him untargetable, and his S1 dashes makes him very difficult to hit with hero lock skills. So with aiming skills. So he is very mobile, and he can sort of avoid hits by the enemy with his immobility frames a lot in the late game. Unfortunately, his early game cooldown is ridiculously long, so his jungle clear speed at the start is very slow, and his invulnerability frames at the start is also fairly long. So if you play somebody like hanxin, right, you can do very well against him in the early game. Yeah, and that's basically his downside. His early game is just too rough, but if you allow him to snowball into a late game, he's an absolute monster to deal with. His only weakness, not only weakness, I would say his glaring weakness is Liang. So immediately after his ultimate, right, if the Liang puts like his S1 at his shadow, at where he's currently ulting, right, he will instantly get CC'd when after he finishes his ultimate, and he will not be able to get away, and you can immediately just put your S2 and ult him, and then he will just die. Also, you can just keep spamming your ultimate as Liang, and basically whenever he charge up to you, he'll just get instantly ulted by you and locked in place, and once he's stunned for like 3 seconds, he will not be able to go back to his shadow, and he will just die there. Yeah, so Liang is an extremely good counter to Libai, but otherwise he doesn't really have any counters. I guess his only counter is any jungler that can invade him early game, because his early game is quite weak. That's all, I think. he doesn't really have any junglers that can counter him, I would say. Besides, I guess he does have jungler that counter him, people with very high mobility. I can only think of hanxin at the moment. I don't think there's any hero that can catch up to him where his shadow is. Maybe these two guys, and hanxin, are good counters to him. But then again, they're also like, that's also why they are like super strong, right? Why they are so ranked so highly. Only these three guys can counter him from what I'm seeing here. So that's why he's in the A tier. But because of his horrible early game performance, I cannot put him more than A tier. Let's see, this guy. Honestly, I'm sorry, but I haven't seen enough of him to really comment on him. Of all the times that I've seen him, he's always performing fairly badly. But I've not seen enough of him to really comment. I guess I did face him a few times as an enemy, not as a teammate. And because it's unfair, because whenever I see him, I always pick Liang, which is his natural counter, because I'm out him when he's casting his ultimate. So it's not really fair to him. I don't really know exactly how strong it is. I think people say that his ultimate shield value is very low late game. I don't know how true that is. I will just reserve my judgment on him. I don't really know. People say that he's in a fairly bad situation right now, but I really cannot judge. Nezha is probably at the top of the B tier. Is he in A tier? I'll actually put him at the bottom of A tier. I'll say libai late game is stronger than Nezha though. Let me think. I think no. I'll put nezha over libai. Actually, nezha should be higher. I think I'll put him here. No wait. Actually no. I'll put him here. His problem is that his jungle clear is very slow. He pretty much needs. He will always go tank item and not AD item as a jungler. And his jungle clear speed is extremely slow, so you cannot just clear your own jungle. You need to constantly invade your enemy and look for fights. Invade the enemy jungle. But his teamfight potential is off the charts. He's super tanky, especially when he's a jungler. He's not really reliant on purify or like flicker, because he's pretty mobile in fights because of his S2 and his passive, his speed boost passive. And as a jungler, he's like extremely tanky, almost unkillable, nigh unkillable. He's able to get in and get out, and tank so much damage that I don't think he can really kill an enemy, but he's able to waste so much of the enemy's time, so that his own teammate can take objectives. He's such a huge time waster. He has such a massive shield. He does not deal that much damage, so I don't think a marksman can really get killed by him unless they are really underfed, underfarmed. But he's just such a time waster. He's almost unkillable until he gets to a late game when people get their percentage pierce items. He's so difficult to kill. So whenever he's invading the jungle, it's very difficult to deal with him. That's why he's ranked fairly highly. Why is he not higher? That's because it's extremely easy to, we call it 上头 in Chinese, which means that you can get cocky with him very easily. Because he's able to absorb so much damage, right? A lot of nezha that I've seen, they always overextend. And then once you die 1 or 2 times, right, you find that you can't invade the enemy jungle anymore. As long as you lose the initiative to invade the enemy jungle, you are sort of screwed. Your jungle clear is extremely slow, so if you are sort of restricted to your own side of your jungle, right, and not able to invade the enemy jungle, then I think his potential starts to fall off a cliff. Unlike traditional jungles out there, like with these two guys, even if they lose access to the enemy jungle, they can still clear their own jungle and then farm up fairly quickly. Even hanxin as well, and even the king of lanling as well. But this guy over here, he needs to invade the enemy jungle just like Yuhuan. If these two guys actually loses vision of the enemy jungle, and are sort of limited to their own side of the jungle, it's going to be very bad for them. So for that reason, I cannot put him in the S tier or in the upper A tier. A good jungler need to have decent jungle clear speed, which unfortunately this guy doesn't have. He's a super good team fighter, so I would say that he's better probably as a clash lane than a jungle. Also, he cannot take objectives down by himself. Very much needs his teammate to take it down for him, because he does so little damage. He pretty much will not lose any health against the dragon or the slayer, but he's able to barely deal any damage to them. So honestly, he acts more like a tank than an assassin. And I would say generally the meta right now is more towards assassins than warriors with slow clear speed, especially after the tank item nerfs. Alright, next will be Luna. I think after the recent buffs, she's probably here. She's extremely mobile, extremely mobile, extremely tanky as well, with the August 1 item, and still able to deal a fair bit of magic damage. Unfortunately, she's too inconsistent. You can if you use a purify, you can just negate the mark onto her and by her, and then if she uses a skill on you, she will just, if you uses her ult onto you, she will not be able to refresh her ultimate. So I often use purify to bail out her ultimate, and then force her ultimate to be on cooldown. And then once the ultimate is on cooldown, she's pretty much useless, and we just wail on her. She's too inconsistent, I would say, but her skill ceiling is off the chart. A good Luna player is probably here, besides Jing, or above or below, one spot above or below Jing. But because of how inconsistent she is, right, I cannot put her any higher than this. She's also extremely reliant on the blue buff. I played Luna without the blue buff before, and it's hell on earth, because you cannot spam your ultimate at all, and without her ultimate, she's extremely immobile. The ultimate also takes a lot of mana, so if you don't have blue buff, it will suck a lot for you. If she doesn't have blue buff, right, she might be like in the bottom, in the lower C tier. Yeah, she's extremely reliant on blue buff, so if you actually die once on her, right, it's very punishing. Because if a blue buff has yet to respawn and you die as a Luna, wow, it's so punishing, man. So that's why, even though she's an extremely fun hero to watch, spectacular hero to watch, actually one of the best hero out there to watch, but because of its inconsistencies, I can only put her in the mid to high A tier. Menki is sitting surprisingly at a high A tier. Sorry, at a low A tier. This guy is just so freaking tanky. If he has a target to stack on, if he doesn't have a target to stack on, he's not that strong. His ultimate gives him a good amount of mobility, and he actually have a very high base movement speed when he's in his chibi form. When he's in his fat form, he's a lot more tanky, but he's very slow. But when he's chibi form, his base movement speed is super high. So you can use that to your advantage to sort of roam around the map. You are sacrificing your defenses for mobility. I think that's a fair trade-off. So his base movement speed is very high, which will allow him to rotate fairly quick. Also, his ultimate gives him a good amount of mobility. The thing is, I don't know the cooldown for his ultimate. So honestly, it depends on whether you can spam it. Let's just say that it's 30 seconds. I'm not exactly sure because of the number. I would say, if you know how to kite him, right, he's not that strong. but as soon as he has a target to stack his S1 on, right, he becomes super strong. So in high elo, probably not that useful, but in low elo, he's a monster to deal with, because your tank support will just allow them to stack on him, and then he will just pop off and become super tanky. He, instead of losing health, he will actually gain health just by stacking tons and tons of shield. So even with full AD items, he's like you're doing no damage to him because of his passive. So the best counter against a menki, right, is to pick a mage support instead of a tank, to just hit him from distance, make sure that he doesn't have any target to stack on, and then it will be golden. Again, he has his ultimate, so it's not that easy to kite him compared to somebody like Kaiser or Tuan. So that's why he's up here. He's not the most mobile unit. He does have a quirk that makes him very tanky. His jungle curl speed is actually okay as well because of his ability to spam his S1. He also does not. He's a super good sustain because he has such an insane amount of shield. He does not lose any health at all with clearly jungle camps. His S1 and S2 makes him his jungle clear has a fairly short cooldown, and also makes his jungle clear pretty fast. So say overall he's decent in a lot of areas and has the quirk of being super tanky. That's why it's in A tier. I'd say he does not have any direct counters. I guess his counter is kiting. If you're able to kite these two guys well, they're fairly easy to deal with. Yeah. So that is not really a glaring weakness, because that's a weakness that a lot of the people here actually share. So but they are decent in a lot of areas. That's why they are better than these guys in other areas, and they have a standout feature of them, which is why they are not in the B and C, and they are in the lower A tier instead. Okay, I think menki is underrated in lower elo. I think menki might be a very strong pick in the lower elo. Lam is definitely a go-to choice in low elo, but menki might be a close second. Yeah. He's just so tanky. Once you have a target to stack on, it's absolutely unbelievable how tanky he is. He's even more tanky than Nezha once he has a target to stack on. Yeah. Unfortunately, I don't think he can really kill the enemy backline as well as Nezha, because at least Nezha has like a auto lock feature. Menki doesn't have that. Usually he stacks on tank. It's fairly difficult for him to actually reach the enemy backline. Both he and Nezha acts as very good frontline tanks, while still able to have decent jungle clear. Alright, next will be Musashi. Pretty much a counter pick against healing units, but overall I would say he's pretty mid. Probably here. Definitely higher than these two guys, but I cannot put him any higher. Actually no, I'll put him higher than Siming. Top of the B tier, I would say. I really don't know what to say about him. He's super average. His jungle clear speed is okay. Usually I see a half tank Musashi rather than a full tank Musashi nowadays. His jungle clear speed is okay, but nothing to brag about. He has mobility skills with a fairly short cooldown, but you need a target to land it on, so it's not a very consistent dash. His damage potential is okay, I guess. His ultimate allows him to lock on the target, and his dashes allow him to stick to that target, so I guess it's okay. Overall, I think he's just a very mid hero. He performs okay in all fields. He doesn't really have a card counter to him. His S1 is also surprisingly useful because it can cut down any aerial attacks, much like Ali's S2. But I would say he does not really have a good standout feature that allows him to be in the A tier. He does decently well in all areas, which is why he's at the top of the B tier. Okay, next will be simayi. I would say he's... Wow, I've seen simayi that are really good, man. I would say he's probably here. He's very good against mage heavy lineups. He's like an anti-mage, right? So very good against mage lineups. He's also surprisingly, he's able to disengage very well with his ultimate. But he is a character that you need to all in onto somebody. Oh wow. But it's super difficult to spot a simayi that's ulting the bush. But then he's a character that needs to go all in. Oh. I think I'll put him behind libai for now because of his all-in nature. Wow, he's a low elo stomper, man. I think I will have to put him here. Wow, he also he's like super good against mage heavy lineups, so but he's not really good against generic lineups. He's okay, I guess. Overall, I would say he's between here in the low A tiers. I'm not exactly sure. Maybe behind menki. I would say here. It's pretty arbitrary. His jungle clear speed is okay, not the best. His early game jungle clear is fairly fast. Once you snowball with him, he also gets his energy stacks and is able to spam his skills a lot. His late game is fairly weak, the same as any other AP units out there, because of that very strong AP defense item. As long as your carry builds a AP defense item, he will not be able to assassinate them anymore. For that reason, his early game is super strong. His early game, mid game damage is really high, but late game is not that high. So I think I will put him in low A tier for now. He's a hero that you need to snowball just like libai, so I guess they are here for now. Alright, next will be nakoruru. My favorite character, unfortunately. Most people don't play her very well. I'll say she's at the bottom of A tier. I play her because she has insane mobility and her jungle clear is probably the fastest. Not the fastest, one of the faster ones. Okay, actually no, she's one of the top 3 fastest jungle clear. Yeah, that's pretty much the main reason why I play her. She's able to get fed extremely quickly, and she's also able to solo objectives. Unfortunately, she has no CC skills. She is very squishy. Her base health is the lowest among all the junglers out there, at only 6,500, while the other junglers usually have 7,000. What can I say about her? Probably higher than libai, but her skill ceiling is not that high. It's very easy to play her. It's very hard to go wrong with her, but her skill ceiling is not that high. So if you are a casual jungler like me, right, she's great. But if you want to specialize in jungling role, probably not pick her. You want to pick someone with a higher skill ceiling. Yeah. So why is she not a higher A tier? Let me think. Besides the super squishy part, you need to really land your ultimate with her. If you don't land your ultimate with her, it's fairly easy to land your ultimate. But if you don't land your ultimate on her, you will be in a really bad spot. You pretty much have to use your S2 to disengage if you don't land your ultimate, and then you will only be left with your S1 as your damaging skill. So if somebody immediately engages onto you after you miss your ultimate, right, you're pretty much screwed. So I guess she's here because of her like she's punished very badly for making a small error. If you miss your ultimate, she's going to die in the late game like fairly certainly in high elo. So ultimate is fairly easy to land. Again, I mentioned that a couple of times already. But you really need to land your ultimate. Unlike a lot of these guys, right, where you can miss a skill, nakoruru cannot miss the ultimate at all. Alright, so I guess that's the only downside. But it's a fairly big downside. So maybe I'll put her above simayi, I think because of her ease of use, right? I might put her higher. I might put her in the mid to low A tier for now. My favorite jungler absolute favorite jungler to play behind Yuhuan. And Lam. Yeah. Next will be Pei. Wow, I've seen so little Pei nowadays, man. And of all the Peis I've been in a team with, we lost the game. So I think Pei is not good right now. I would say he's still at the bottom of the B tier. He has insane mobility. His early game is extremely strong. His jungle invade potential in the early game is extremely high. But his main problem in the late game is he cannot engage on the enemy squishy. He cannot jump onto the enemy squishy easily. He needs somebody to poke. He needs your warrior to deal with the enemy squishy. He cannot really get to the enemy squishy, unlike a lot of assassins out there. So he really needs to snowball the early game. Generally, these kind of heroes, I don't rate them very highly. Because if they don't snowball, they will just fall over and die in the early game. I would say this downside is a lot more apparent in him compared to a lot of junglers out there. He really needs to snowball, man. And his kit allows him to snowball fairly well at the start. But if your support and your mid lane knows how to play right and prevents him from invading or jungle, then late game he just falls off a cliff. He is also not tanky at all. He's very squishy. He's very mobile. That's pretty much it. He cannot really assassinate the backline properly. So for that reason, I cannot put him any higher than B tier, the lowest B tier. He's not going to C tier because he at least is very mobile and have a lot of early game invading potential. So that's really a standout feature, which makes him not fit to be in the C tier. But right now, Pei is not doing well in the high elo. I can tell you that. I've won all my games against an enemy Pei, and I've lost all my games with a Pei on my team. Yeah, that's pretty much it. And to be fair, I've seen less and played Pei nowadays compared to maybe like 5 months ago, and Peis are sort of running around a lot more. Yeah. Next will be Wukong. Wukong is very underrated in my opinion. He is up here, one of the strongest jungler out there. I've seen so many Wukong. Wukong is so difficult to play. I've tried playing Wukong a few times and I just suck at him, absolutely suck at him. Wukong's early game is pretty bad before he gets the crit item, but once he gets the crit item, it starts to pop off. But the thing is, I've seen Wukong in rank that are extremely good with him. I pretty much won all my games with a Wukong on my team. I can't say that I lost all my games against the enemy Wukong because I know how to deal with a Wukong. Liang is Wukong's counter because he cannot use his S1 to evade Liang's suppression skill. So Liang, whenever I see a Wukong, I will always pick Liang, which makes it so that it's harder for Wukong to actually defeat me. But with a Wukong on my team, right, people on the other side don't really know how to deal with him and always get demolished by him, and they always get destroyed in the late game. Even like he can 1v3 in the late game because of his crazy crit scaling. So yeah, absolute monster to deal with. His S1 is his core kit. It allows him to negate a skill by the enemy, which is absolutely crazy. So he can negate things like Lady Zhen's ultimate, he can negate things like Darcy's S2. So usually against a Wukong, you need to have multiple skills. You need to use 2 skills against the Wukong. Like a Liang, you need your S2 to sort of trigger his S1 first, and then when he has his damage negation, his skill negation depleted, then you use your CC skill onto him. So then you use your S1 onto him if you don't have your out ready. So with Wukong, most people find it very difficult to deal with him because most assassins are sort of the all-in kind, and Wukong deals very well with the all-in kind of assassins. I think Wukong deals poorly with assassins that have very high mobility. They can disengage and re-engage like a hanxin. So generally assassins, I think, that does burst damage, or mages that does burst damage, find it very difficult to deal with a Wukong. So Wukong is also very stealthy. His S2 allows him to dash a very far distance across a minion or a friendly unit, and that distance is very easy to misjudge that distance. So a lot of people actually get caught by surprise because of just insanely far he's able to dash over a minion, jump over a minion using his S2, and to get within range of somebody because of his high mobility skills, and his crazy damage potential in the late game, and his huge threat to the enemy frontline, right? I think I'll put him here in the top end of the A tier. Alright, I think Lanling needs to go down a few tiers, probably something like that. Is Athena deserve to be above below Lanling? I think she's above Lanling. Lanling can be right smack in the middle. Hanxin can trade places with Luna, something like this. I think this is more fair. Alright, he's not in S tier because his early game sucks. These two guys have a fairly good early game. These two guys have the common trait that their early game absolutely sucks. Yeah, but because of his ability to pop off a lot more than Luna late game, he's in a higher spot, and he's actually as mobile as Luna, I would say, and poses as much of a threat as the enemy to the enemy backline as much as Luna. Alright, next will be Yao. I've honestly not seen him that much as a jungler, but all the Yao that I've seen perform relatively well. I'll say he's probably here. He's probably here. Actually, and honestly, Libai can go in the bottom or top of the B tier. He's very tanky. His jungle clear is good, but nothing to brag about. He is very tanky thanks to his ultimate being able to reduce 40% of the damage. He is pretty mobile. His double S2 dashes are fairly short range, but it allows him to evade a lot of skills with it because he moves in an unpredictable arc pattern. So he can use that to evade a lot of skills, and he can go back to 2 seconds to his original position with his ultimate. That makes him fairly unpredictable. But does he have a standout feature? He doesn't really have a standout feature, but he does very well in a lot of fields. I guess that makes him stronger than nakoruru. Yeah, he's just strong in he's sort of like a better Musashi, I think. He has better jungle clear than Musashi. He's more mobile than Musashi, and is a bigger threat to enemy backline as Musashi. He's tankier than Musashi. There's not really any counter to him, just like Musashi. Yeah, that's it. But it doesn't really have a standout area. Like nakoruru, for example, all of these guys have a standout area. He just does very well in all the areas. Like nakoruru has extremely good jungle clear speed. Nezha is extremely tanky and extremely versatile in team fights. Lanling King poses the most threat to an enemy immobile unit. Athena is actually one of those. Athena does he deserve to be here? Does it A tier? Athena's late game damage is actually crazy. Crit Athena late game damage is absolutely nuts. But her early game is also fairly strong, thanks to her very short cooldown. So I guess that's a standout feature. Yuhuan is a monster in team fights, actually like probably the best team fighter around. Hanxin is the most mobile unit. Luna is the most mobile unit. Wukong is does a huge threat to the enemy backline. So Yao doesn't really have a standout feature. I don't know what does that makes him. Personally, I think I'll put him in the mid A tier. Yeah. Let's see. There's not much for me to say about him. I guess his standout feature is that it's extremely unpredictable because of his multiple dashes, and his ultimate allows him to go back to 2 seconds to where he last was. Sometimes even the handler does not know what he's actually doing with Yao. That's how confusing his mechanic is. So because of that, I think a good Yao is able to really assassinate the enemy backline while still being very tanky with full AD items. Alright, next will be Ying. By the way, for Fang, right, I think I'll put him here. I've not seen enough Fang to really comment on him. If anything, I would say he's probably in C tier. The problem with him is that he's not able to assassinate the enemy backline at all. His jungle clear speed is also very not good. And with the recent nerfs to a jungle item, oh wow, it's a huge debuff to him. It's probably here, I would say. I'll put him here for now. I think he will do very badly. He poses 0 threat to the enemy carry. I think that's a huge problem. Because late game, he needs the Clash lane to deal with the enemy carry. Can he take the objective? Yes, solo objective. Can he solo objective? I think he can solo objective, but he needs a blue buff. He can solo objective. His jungle clear is less than average. His ganking potential is also not that good. I think yeah, that's why he is C tier. Does he have any standout feature? I don't think so. I think he might be here actually. My opinion, he is very bad. He needs to snow, maybe like no, but if he helps a lane to push, then his jungle on the other side is going to get invaded. So I would say he's in a pretty awkward position. His jungle clear speed needs to be faster if he wants to be in the mainstream, but as of now, he's not that great. And I've seen very little Fang jungler nowadays, probably because of that. Alright, next will be Ying. Ying, probably top of B tier, in front of Libai. I'll bump Kaiser down, and I'll bump Pei down to C tier. Sad to see Pei in the C tier. She used to be in the A tier a few seasons ago, 2 seasons ago, but now he's in the dumps now. But this is reality. Ying is very tanky, is able to team fight very well because of her huge AoE CC, and is able to do very good damage and jungle clear. And because of her shield, right, she's also have very good sustain. She won't lose any health killing jungle monsters. Does she have any standout feature? She has decent mobility, but is not super mobile. She has above average mobility, I would say, thanks to her ultimate and her dash. Yeah, just a solid jungler. Maybe he and Simayi should trade places. I think they should trade places. I would say something like that. Yeah, it sucks to see augran so low, but my opinion of him is pretty bad. I would say this is good. Yeah, he's just not that strong. Let me think. Yeah, Ying deserves to be in the A tier, but she needs to excel in a few. I think she excelled in team fight because of its AoE CC. But does that make her any higher than these guys? I guess she might be higher than Menki. Because Menki really needs a target to stack on, otherwise he's not tanky at all. Yeah, I would say it's something like that. This is fine. And then lastly we have Zilong. I used to think he's so OP, dude. I used to main him as a jungler, one of my main junglers behind nakoruru. I'm so sorry to say that he's right now in the C tier. Maybe might be even behind Pei. Okay, maybe in front of Pei. He needs a buff to his damage skills. Or his damage feel very lacking for some reason. Okay, maybe not his damage. He needs to have less skill animation lag. His skills, his S1 has a very long animation delay. His S2 is okay. His ultimate also have a very long animation delay. He have to be stuck on the spot for a few seconds, and after 0.5 seconds then he jumps forward, and then he has a slight animation delay even after that. They need to make his skill a bit more smoother. Either that or raise the damage of his skills a little bit more. I think right now his scaling is too low. Yeah. Again, I think he's pretty good against immobile units, but he's very easily kited. He's fairly predictable. He has 2 dashes, which is his ultimate and his S1, and the recent rework to him, which halves his ultimate CD if it doesn't land, does makes him a bit more versatile because he can use his ultimate as a dash now. But that's not good enough, I think, to get him into B tier. Maybe, I'll say maybe in the bottom B tier. Maybe even in front of Ying. Yeah, but that's as high I'm gonna put him for now. He's fairly predictable. That's a main issue. He does not have that much range. Nakoruru, one of Nakoruru's ultimate has as much range as his S1 plus his ultimate. And also a lot of people are frankly playing Zilong wrong. They are using his S1s as a dash. You shouldn't really use his S1 as a dash skills to move yourself forward. You should use your S1 as an attack to chase after the enemy instead of using it as a dash, because your S1 actually has a lot of AD scaling. The dash, not the empower AA, the dash has itself have a very high AD scaling, so it actually does a fair amount of damage. Most people use that as a mobility skill, so they actually lose the amount of damage from it. Also, most people don't land Lung's ultimate properly, Zilong's ultimate properly. They always immediately after they see someone, right, they just S1 and out forward without thinking. That's not the way to use him. Usually the correct way is to use your S1 and S2, and then once you see the enemy use their flicker or their mobility skill, then you follow up with your ultimate. Yeah, so I see a lot of people just immediately casting their ultimate and missing their ultimate. Yeah, so I see a lot of people just played Zilong wrong. Recently in my one of my streams, right, I actually seen somebody who casted like 20 plus Zilong's ultimate in a match and landed like 2 of them. He literally landed like 10% of his ultimate. That's how bad it was, and he was like a server top 100 long, which is absolutely crazy. So I don't think it's that strong right now. I don't see that much Zilong nowadays compared to a few seasons ago. So with all the new heroes coming out, I just don't think he's ahead of the pack now. He used to be a pretty good jungler back in the old days where there are a lot less heroes, but nowadays I don't think it's that strong now. So I think that covers all the heroes from the tier list. Alright, let me just look at this again. Fang, I would say fang is not yet in D tier, but it's at the bottom of C tier. I think this tier list is okay. Pretty happy with this tier list. Pei is either here or here. I'll put him here just to make this a bit more balanced. Menki, I guess he can be here to make it a bit more balanced. Yeah. So, yeah, that will be it for this series. I hope you guys agree with what I've said, but if you don't, please comment down below what rank you are, and also like which part of the video I actually explained something wrongly. Alright. Yeah, just you can have criticisms, but please explain yourself and not just say that this take is dumb or something like that. Alright, and peace out everybody. See you guys on the next stream or video. Alright, I'll be streaming, not streaming, I'll be recording tonight's peak mode. So look forward to that, and I'll see you guys in a bit. Bye for now.